So our strategy is defensive. We have a new name. It's called Back to Basics Butler. We're going to be keying in on using informed squads, and we have offensive strategies that we're developing now as well. Back to Basics Butler, the three team at this time is Amy Maurer, right here, Tracy Hack, right here, Paul Simmons, right here. So our four pillars are food, medical, alternative, education, and local businesses. Our focus right now is, one thing at a time, is food. The medical, I see something we're going to have to develop on a national scale in order for that to really develop much more. But the food and the medical are very, very much tied together. And I didn't know how much they were tied until I have some health issues. And it's okay, don't worry about it. And I've been doing a lot of research there, and you have no idea how I went down the food rabbit hole, and you have no idea how it relates to your health. I mean, I could go on, and there's a lot of information on the presentation. If you have any health issues, it's what you're eating, what you're getting, what they're feeding you, and supporting local businesses. So this is a natural response to tyranny. You know, these taking care, all of these areas are basic needs, and we're going to make sure that we take care of those. And we have a model there that can be used by other people as the momentum increases in the future. Also, I have food updates in the presentation. Easy bugs, information on farmland, food industry exposed, and vaccinated food and cattle. There's a lot of surprises there, unfortunately. Getting back to the priority pillar number one is food access and quality food. So we would educate people in terms of food quality, how it's grown, and our two-pronged approach is farm to table. So we're building a model how to qualify farmers to see if they're growing healthy food, get that personal relationship with your farmer, make sure you're getting food, have access to food, and that it's healthy, and then also support and help people sign up for CSA programs. And then we have Tracy heading up the Great Food portion, and I'm going to ask her to come up, go through. Just tell me when to hit go.
Oh, I didn't know I was speaking tonight, or I wouldn't wear shorts. Sorry. So I am going to be starting a garden consulting business, but the thing that I want to say first of all, so that you know where I come from, is a little bit about my grandfather. I'm not going to bore you. He was born in 1903 and lived through the Great Depression, and I was so honored to have him as a grandfather. He lived on a family farm with a 2-bedroom, and there was 15 of them with parents, 13 children and the 2 adults. And they came up through the Great Depression and had to learn to live off the land. So they always had their own cattle and stuff, and he told me so many stories, one about digging potatoes when a rider on a horse came through telling them that World War I was officially over. So honored to spend that time with him. And then as an adult in my 30s, when he was getting elderly, consequently he married my grandmother, and fast forward, they had a farm and lived off the land. And it was out in Shakora, which is a little blip on the map, if anybody knows where that is. But I grew up kind of out there, and in my 30s, when he was getting elderly, was when I really had the chance to go out and really learn how to grow from him and can and do things with my grandmother. And the one thing I will say is everything that I want to do with food is really always centered around love. If we would just turn everything back to love, which is really what Jesus taught, we can change this whole economy. We can change everything about the United States. And I just want to say that I was listening to, sometimes when we think about people that disagree with us or don't I have a different perspective because I also teach sociology. If you just put yourself in the other person's shoes, sometimes you can find something in common that will lead to the conversation that will break that barrier so that you can start to talk. And I think I kind of borrowed that from our late and great assassinated John F. Kennedy, who said you always have to put yourself in the shoes of your adversary. Anyway, so I'm going to be starting a garden consulting business because what I really want people to do is start to take over their bodies, and the only way you're going to do that is if you start to nourish it. And there's no better way than connecting with the earth when you start to garden, and there's no better way than starting to feed yourself healthy foods. And I'm not going to go into all the bad stuff that's in our foods. If you walk into all the center aisles in the grocery store, probably most of that stuff you shouldn't be eating. We've gotten away from growing, we've gotten away from grounding with the earth, we've gotten away from all the things that give our body the microbes that we need to have a healthy system. And that's why we have all these diseases in this country. We're the most unhealthy country in the nation, which is really sad. So I guess why I'm starting a business is because, not just because of my grandfather and I love to grow, but all of these things, because most people say, I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to grow. Most people just don't know how to grow. And it's not that difficult. Can you go ahead and forward it? Yeah. So when I start my business, which I'm starting to put all the plans in together right now to get it started, I want everybody to be empowered. Somebody was just talking about empowering yourself. You were showing a slide, somebody was. We have to empower ourselves. And you cannot empower yourself if you're not educated on what you want to do. So if you don't know anything about that box of cereal that you're eating, I'm going to suggest that you turn it over, you look at the ingredients, and you start to Google it. Because half of it's fake, it's highly processed, it's what causes autism, cancer, diabetes. I could go on and on. You already know these things. Probably a lot of you already know these things, but we have to stop eating this stuff. So it doesn't matter what kind of property you have. You can start something as basic as growing the most nutrient-dense foods. Does anybody, there's some elderly people in here, and I'm not saying old, because none of us are old. Old's just a bad word. If you ever talk to anybody that grew a garden back in the 40s and the 50s, they had what they called victory gardens back then, because when the world wars were taking place, the food chain supply was changed, and so they started to encourage people to grow their own food, and they grew the most nutrient-dense foods. So my plan is to start people with a root. If you don't know anything about growing, which will teach you how to start to grow some of your own nutrient-dense foods. And you can select those things. I'm not going to force anybody to eat spinach or kale or something. You just have, although I would debate you that you probably don't know how to cook it and use it, because we've gone away from all those things. But that's a good place to start. The heart is actually going to be something where you can incorporate some of the things that you love with some really nutrient-dense products, some really nutrient-dense foods. And then the force is going to be the dynamic, which is where you're going to be able to pick what you want in your garden. I'll supply you with all of these. You need to have, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you are overwhelmed by the thought of starting your own garden, this is what I'm going to do. Help people design a garden. It is my goal to teach you how to design, not to design your garden, to teach you how to learn to grow it yourself. So I can get you started. I'm not coming back next year. I want you to do that next year. I'm not offering a service where I come back every year. I'm offering a service where I get you started and then you can do it yourself. And I know a lot of people say, well, I'm elderly, I can't grow a garden. Well, we can make you a raised bed. Everybody can grow a garden. You just have to learn how to do it. And last but not least, that's just some, if you don't have a garden, if you're not familiar with raised beds, when I start my business, I'll be providing all, different places where you can actually buy your raised bed. And then that's the questionnaire that you'll fill out at the beginning. Because if I can't help you if I don't know what you like and what you have and what you're thinking about. And that's me and my dog. She actually digs holes when I ask her to, but I won't be bringing her along. Like I said, it's just my dream. But my goal really is to teach people that we have to take our bodies back. We have to become empowered, because we have been taught so many wrong things, and food is huge. Because if you're not giving your body the right food, none of this other stuff is going to matter. Because if you don't have health, you don't have anything.
Thank you. So just a little follow-up to that. So what's food have to do with freedom? First of all, you have to eat. And go ahead, as we get this informed squad on food, go ahead and educate yourself in terms of how we're being attacked today, and what you're eating and what you're not being fed. There's more bugs you eat, more and more you realize, maybe I should have my own garden. But the point being is this is a defensive strategy, and you can't talk to someone about freedom or bring them to Christ or have any discussion unless you have a common something to talk to them about. So I can go to, this is absolutely non-political. We don't talk about anything political. We'll talk back to basics about it. We will push the food angle and develop relationships, and the informed squad will be there, especially for the food, but then they can access the other. They were right about this, maybe they're right about some other things. Okay? So that's where we're going. Fine? Okay, very quickly, we're also involved in supporting role, homeschooling, or alternative education in local businesses. We talked about this. Future, we have the first 5 county leadership strategic planning workshop, Beaver, Butler, Washington, Lawrence, Armstrong, and Pennsylvania Patriot Coalition, hopefully. So we're going to be talking about the future and how to retool our organizations and looking at new working models. And we need more research specialists. If anyone enjoys researching, please hook up with me, because as we go forward, we're going to need people to look into things. And these are my last 2 slides. I usually get an applause when I talk about the last 2 slides.
Time is still on our side, and that if things get really bad, enough people will then take the appropriate stand on the side of freedom. But to take this passive approach is to flirt with danger. For one of the most important lessons of the 20th century is that when totalitarianism is unleashed on a population, it proves very difficult to internally dislodge. Unless we are vigilant in protecting our freedoms, they will be taken from us, for as Voltaire noted, so long as the people do not care to exercise their freedom, those who wish to tyrannize will do so. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, in a footnote to Volume 1 of the Gulag Archipelago, expressed the profound regret that he and his fellow Soviet prisoners felt for their lack of action in